So a brand new digital currency just dropped, and it's modeled after Bitcoin. But hold on, this is not your typical crypto launch. This thing is tied directly to a call for justice that's literally centuries old, with its creators calling it nothing less than digital reparations. It's a massive, ambitious idea, and we're going to break down exactly what's going on.
I mean, look at this quote. This one line from their announcement really says it all. You can feel it, right? This isn't just about code and servers, it's about opportunity. The message is just crystal clear. A huge wave of digital wealth was created, and they feel their community was left out. This project is their way of saying, not this time. This time, we start on day one.
All right, so let's get into it. What exactly is FBA Coin? We need to look past the headlines and really dig into what it's made of and what it's trying to do. Okay, so on a technical level, FBA Coin, or FBAC for short, is a decentralized currency. It's built right on the principles of Bitcoin. But here's where it takes a sharp turn. Its whole purpose is, and I quote, economic self-determination and reparative justice. So you see, they're not just trying to make a new type of digital cash. They're trying to bake a political mission, a historical statement, right into the code itself. And this is a really big deal. Just like Bitcoin, the moment FBA Coin is launched, it's designed to be on its own. There's no CEO, no central bank, no government that can print more or shut it down. That separation, that independence from the entire traditional US financial system, well, that's a core part of the whole idea.
So you might be asking, why go through all the trouble of creating a whole new currency from scratch? The answer isn't really about the tech. It's about taking a long, painful history and trying to tackle it with a very 21st century tool.
Well, this quote right here from Tariq Nasheed, who's a spokesperson for the FBA movement, really cuts to the core of it. He's pointing to what he describes as a long history of systemic economic exclusion, arguing that for generations, the ancestors of foundational Black Americans were deliberately blocked from the traditional paths to building wealth, things like owning land or getting access to capital. And that's where their solution comes in. It's a really powerful analogy, right? If Bitcoin was like the creation of a whole new continent of digital land, then FBA Coin is designed to make sure that their community are the first settlers, owning that land from the very beginning. The idea is to stop trying to get into an old system and instead become the founders of a new one. Okay, so we've got the why, but what about the how? How does this thing actually work? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the tech and how it's being handed out, because this is where things get really interesting and, let's be honest, pretty controversial. If you know a little bit about crypto, this stuff is going to look pretty familiar. It's got a hard cap, a fixed supply of 21 million coins, which is exactly like Bitcoin. That's to make it scarce and hopefully protect it from inflation. It also uses proof of work, which is the same system that powers Bitcoin, where computers solve these super complex puzzles to keep the network secure. The tech itself is pretty standard. The real shakeup is in how these coins are first given out. And here it is. This is the part that's completely different. The very first coins, the Genesis coins, aren't for sale. Instead, they're airdropped, which is just a fancy way of saying they're given away for free, in equal shares to people who can prove they have foundational Black American lineage. Now, that verification process happens privately, off the network. But here's the key part. After that initial distribution is done, bam, the network opens up to everyone. It becomes totally permissionless, so anyone, anywhere in the world can buy, sell, or trade it.
So, as you can probably imagine, a project like this has kicked up a ton of debate. It touches on everything: tech, money, history, identity, all at once. So let's take a look at what both sides are saying.
The crypto world is pretty much split right down the middle on this. On one side, you have supporters who are saying, wow, this is a totally new way to use blockchain for social justice, a historic way to fix an old problem. But on the other side, the critics are raising some serious red flags. They argue that tying access to lineage, even if it's just for the initial launch, goes against the whole spirit of crypto, which is supposed to be open to absolutely everyone. And they're warning that mixing political identity this closely with money could create a recipe for extreme volatility.
And it's not just the crypto folks who are paying attention. Regulators in the US are watching this very, very closely. This anonymous quote from a senior official really puts a finger on what could be the biggest roadblock they face. The legal question is huge. Does a distribution model based on who your ancestors are, even if it's for a good cause, break current anti-discrimination laws? This could turn into a major legal battle.
Okay, so with all this hype and all this controversy swirling around, what's the actual game plan here? Well, the team behind FBA Coin has laid out their official roadmap, spelling out exactly how they plan to get this from an idea to a real, working global currency. And let me tell you, their timeline is pretty ambitious. They're aiming for a public launch in just 90 days. After that, they'll release all the code so anyone can inspect it, then they'll integrate with their own wallets, and then the final phase, which is really the big one, trying to get listed on the major global crypto exchanges. That last step is the ultimate test of whether FBA Coin can break into the mainstream.
You know, this final quote from Marcus Ellison, their tech director, I think it just wraps up the whole mission perfectly. The goal here isn't just to get a seat at the old table. The goal is to build a brand new table, and this time, make sure their community is sitting at the head of it.
And so, all of this leaves us with a huge question. Is FBA Coin truly a revolutionary new model for reparations, a way to build new generational wealth in our digital world? Or is it a really risky experiment that's mixing volatile ingredients like code, identity, and politics? The code is written, the launch is happening right now, and honestly, the whole world is watching to see how this plays out.